Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, New York pays $41 billion more to Washington than it receives in funding. I think the choices here are very clear. The bottom line is you needed $1.5 trillion to justify a corporate tax cut that is not needed, and I'll get into the reasons why. And you found state and local tax deduction to come up with that amount. In 1913, the 16th Amendment gave Congress the authority to enact federal income tax. At the same time, 104 years ago, they established that a local and state tax deduction was needed to protect local folks from the long, heavy reach of the federal government. The 16th Amendment authorized the federal government to collect income taxes and local, state, and tax deduction. They were not coincidental. The local and state tax deduction was a check in the federal authority to level income taxes. It was to protect local taxpayers from double taxation and a federal money grab. 45 million Americans will lose this protection, costing $3,500 each. This bill, your bill, will take away that protection and give the federal government the authority to double tax people to raise $1.5 trillion to fund tax cuts for American companies who are reaping record profits. Mr. Chairman, the idea of the state and local tax deduction was easy. The taxes you pay locally cannot be subject to the second money grab by the federal government. Call it states' rights protection against excessive federal taxation. But we know the game. You need to take this money from the local folks to fund your massive giveaway to American corporations. Those same corporations are hoarding cash everywhere. Everywhere. U.S. companies have $2.1 trillion in profits hidden in foreign accounts. U.S. companies have an additional $1.9 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds, $4 trillion in corporate cash in other countries and in U.S. Treasury bonds, $4 trillion. And you need to give them another $1.5 trillion. We are told not to worry, that the American worker will see an increase in their income between $4,000 and $9,000 every single year, because American businesses will pass on this tax cut to workers. That is a bold-faced lie. That will never happen, and nobody in this room, nobody, believes that. The White House Council on Economic Advisors actually made a report saying that these corporations will give American workers a huge wage increase. It's not going to happen. The White House economic advisors should all be fired for misleading deliberately the American people to justify this massive cut. Mr. Chairman, General Electric earned $27.5 billion in profits between 2008 and 2012. They paid no taxes. In fact, they got a $3.1 billion refund from the American taxpayers. And you want to give them a tax cut of $1.5 trillion. Apple made $74 billion between 2008 and 2012 and paid no taxes. And by the way, every piece of technology in your smartphone was a direct result of American-funded, government-funded research. Touchscreen, global positioning satellite, and voice-activated personal assistant all came from the U.S. government. And guess what? Every smartphone is made in China. Every smartphone is made in China. 115 Fortune 500 companies paid no federal taxes last year, and they will get a tax cut under your plan. 30 Fortune 500 companies had a negative tax liability last year, and they're getting $1.5 trillion more in taxes because of your plan. The most efficient operating piece of the American economy is when the American worker shares in the prosperity of the productivity gains in this economy. That's what will grow the economy. That's what will put people to work. That's what will reduce deficit and debt. And I yield back the balance of my